Good morning and welcome to our weekly Wednesday morning life program. It is just about 10 a.m. and this morning we are learning how to transform our leftovers with Missy Dixon, children's librarian, and Diona West, our circulation manager, who are both very fine cooks. And I'm super stoked to hear how we're going to make our leftovers into something new. Just because at my house we're going to be having a small feast for two, and we know there's going to be leftovers, so I'm eager to try some of these out. You can respond in the chat with questions once we get kind of to that point in things. Just a quick reminder, next week is the national holiday in which a lot of us eat a lot of food. So we will not be open on Wednesday, and we will not be having live next Wednesday. December 1st, we're going to pick it back up with Sarah Zapata from the Teaching and Learning Center, and she's going to be teaching us about the 5 languages of appreciation so that we can, get a better grasp on some of our holiday preparations before we virtually gather together. All right, and Missy and Diona, if you would please take it away. I'm going to start sharing your slides, so if I disappear for a moment, no worries.
Thanks, Rachel. And I guess I'll say, I think Missy and I can both say that we had fun prepping for this live program, and our families benefited a lot from it. But I think for me personally, since I love turkey, I may not be having turkey next week because I've eaten enough of it this month already for this.
And I'm actually not a turkey fan, so it made it really easy for me to kind of do a lot of transition stuff that we're going to do with, you can easily use chicken or any other meat. So keep that in mind. So if you're not a turkey fan, or if you have a lot of turkey, there's going to be some things that we can put into different things to make them delicious. All right.
All righty. You guys ready for the next?
Yeah, this one's Diona's.
Yeah, that one's mine. So basically what I did was, instead of buying a huge turkey for prepping this, I actually bought one of those rotisserie turkey breasts that H-E-B and Kroger have, which was fabulous. And I turned that turkey into, I think, 3 or 4 different things for just that breast. So, and this picture is actually a, what did I call this? They called it a grilled cheese. I don't think a grilled cheese has meat and bacon in it. So it's just a turkey, brie, chicken or bacon sandwich, but you could always put chicken in it because Missy doesn't like turkey. So she could put chicken in it. And then we're going to talk about the little stuffing muffins because Missy made some as well. I put turkey inside of mine and used cranberry sauce because I am a fan like no other of the plop cranberry sauce. Like I love when it plops out of the can and I just want to eat it. That's like the only way you're going to get me to eat stuffing or dressing too. I love it. My sister's not as big as a fan, but she did enjoy the cranberry sauce on top of the stuffing. So yes, there's. You can go next slide.
Yeah. Okay, so more turkey, or in my case, this was chicken, because like I said, I'm not really a big fan of turkey, and actually for Thanksgiving for us, we're gonna have chicken. So this is really easy. It's a super easy sandwich, but I also happen to like the fact that I could get it if I wanted to go out someplace, but it tastes much better when you can add as much of your stuff as you want. So this is like a fake Nukes sandwich. So Nukes has a grilled chicken pesto sandwich, and I love it, except I always feel like it's missing something. And so I've added certain things to this. So it's just chicken, it's pesto sauce, it's goat cheese, it's bacon, and I add spinach to it because I happen to like a little greenery to it. It adds a little bit of heft to it, and it fills it all out, and it's super good. And I just easily toasted the bread. You can also, if you want to take a little bit extra time, you can put it on a skillet and make it, but I take shortcuts. So I just stick it in the toaster, toast it up, and so it's more of like a BLT kind of sandwich.
Missy, does Zach eat that one?
Nope. He's 9 and he doesn't eat anything except chicken nuggets, no, not even mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, and pizza, and Hawaiian rolls. So there you go. I'll let you know the ones that he will eat, though.
Okay.
Okay, next
So
slide.
we do have some advisory for the picky eaters out there, which is good for me because I will admit to being one.
Okay, so this is my take on a turkey pot pie, and I actually made that filling that you see. My niece is actually holding it with her finger on the crust. She's 5 months, and she's like my sous chef nowadays. But I made a veggie pot pie a couple of weeks before this, and the recipe that I have for this actually calls for 2 pot pies, so I always save the filling. So then I just took that leftover filling that I had and took the leftover turkey, chopped that up, and then just mixed that all together and poured it in there. I will say the recipe that I added for you guys to see in the end, I'm using a different crust, and it's easier to use a frozen pie crust. But for me, I didn't like the way that it holds things and the way it cut. It just kind of crumbled. And normally I use the top that you see there with the egg wash and the baking. So that's like that Pillsbury dough pie crust. So I typically use that and put that at the bottom of my pan and then do the second sheet for the top, which I find to be better, but to each his own, whatever you want to do that makes it fast. But it's always yummy. And like Missy said on here, you can put anything in there or just make it vegetables or, pot pies are easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they feed everybody. Go ahead, Rachel.
So we have a second round of pot pies. So Diona makes the big ones and I make little ones, so I can freeze. I freeze them up too. So I just use like Grand's biscuit dough. And so I make the filling with like frozen vegetables and then whatever leftover turkey, or even if I have beef, and I can make like beef pot pies and whatnot. I just mix all of my ingredients up, and I have my Grand's biscuits that I'll just stick into my muffin tins, and I fill them up there and try to pinch up the top as best I can, or I cut up an extra one and just stick it on top, bake them up, and I have like little mini pot pies, and it works out really well. The kid won't eat them, but I can put them in the freezer for myself for later, and I can just heat them up in the microwave, so it works out really well. Next. Yeah. Oh, here's our 2 versions of the stuffing muffins. So I made my version. I didn't have any chicken or turkey to put in it, so I just made it with the stuffing, and I kind of made it more of like a breakfast bake kind. So it has egg in it, and it has some broth in it, and then I'd put cheese on top. So I could put like if I wanted to have an egg with it, I can do that and dunk it in there. And it was just more of like a bread. And there's Diona's version.
Yeah, and I actually made this while it was still hot, so you could follow either recipe or Missy's recipe too. But when I say stuffing, this is the stovetop stuffing because I just feel like that's the best way to do things, and it's still really good, and you can add anything if you're missing something. So I actually really quick made my stuffing on the stovetop and then added the turkey, and then I just put them in the muffin tin, like mix it all together and put in the muffin tin, and they were good to go. But I think if you prep them and stuff, or if you have like leftover stuffing, you're definitely going to want to add the egg and the broth to make sure it stays together. Yeah.
And I made my stuffing, And then I put it in the fridge to let it dry out for the day. So, and I left it on the stove for probably about an hour just to make sure it cooled down and it kind of really absorbed everything. So that way, when I did go ahead and make the stuffing muffins, that it did exactly what it's supposed to do. So I did it like the recipe with minus the meat and that. So, all right. What's our next one? Oh, this one's yours.
Oh, that's my 3-ingredient dinner. It's truly what the picture says. There are chicken thighs because I like dark meat, but you can use any meat that you want, chicken breast or whatever. And I stuck it in it looks like my Instapot actually has a crock pot feature on it too that I love. So I lined it for easier cleanup. And then I just stuck the chicken, opened up the cranberry sauce and dumped in like half of that bottle of dressing and just let it go. And every now and then I would go look, and I think the recipe says to mix them together, but I'm just really lazy. And I just kind of dumped the cranberry sauce. I kind of chopped it up a little bit and then just dumped it in there and was like, okay, I'll just go back and look and kind of mix it or move it around. And it turned out really well. Probably so well that I did not take a picture of it. So that's why you get this picture instead.
And you might think, like, why are we like? There's some things in there, that are not like leftovers, or making some things from like other things. But when I think of leftovers, sometimes I don't know about anybody else, but I go to the grocery store and I go and buy all my ingredients for whatever I'm going to make, and I inevitably buy like 2 cans of something or 3 cans of something because I know I'm going to mess it up. So I want to make sure that I have enough. Well, somehow you got to use all those cans of cranberry jelly or whatever you have to have. And I have like extra cans of, you name it, I've got extra cans in my pantry. And I'm always trying to be like, okay, now I got to use this. I'm like, I don't know what kind of thing I'm going to use it for, but I got to figure it out. So
yes.
When we think of leftovers, sometimes it's just leftover stuff that you have from your pantry that you maybe decided, I didn't have all the ingredients for it, or I didn't know what else to make.
Yes, exactly. Because that's what that cranberry sauce, I bought 2 cans and then I looked at my pantry and I had already had 3 cans in there. So I was like, okay, we're getting rid of some of these. I don't need this many.
Yes. Okay, what's next? Okay, this is me. So there's a new reason for everyone to make extra mashed potatoes. This is your reason right here to make extra mashed potatoes. If you like a baked potato soup, you're gonna love this. If you've had it someplace and you thought this was good, this is better. So if you think that that one where you've had someplace else, this is better. I swear to you, you make your mashed potatoes up just like you normally would, okay? You've got your leftovers, you got 2 cups or so left over. You're gonna put that in a saucepan. You're gonna add, now if you have a problem with dairy, this is not your recipe, okay? So you are gonna add your cream. I use stock. Now, I just happen to never have a thing of stock on me, because if I have the stock in the house, I inevitably never use all of it, and I just feel like I waste it. So I buy like the better than bouillon, and I have that in my fridge, so that way it lasts me a year. So I'll just scoop out some, and I use the vegetable, and my goodness, adding that with the cream, I added some Parmesan cheese. And this recipe, I tried to follow one that I found, and I axed it. I didn't like it. This recipe is 100% me just tweaking and adding and pinching and doing whatever. So this is my recipe for it. I do recommend that if you happen to have some extra potatoes like sitting on the side, and you'll be like, I know I'm gonna make this afterwards, take some and just leave them aside and put them in the fridge that are already cooked, and then you can chunk them up so your potato soup has a little extra chunks to it. It's so good. I added bacon bits because my husband does low carb, so he has tons and tons of bacon bits. So I just stole some of his bacon bits and put it in there with some cheddar cheese, and you have your baked potato soup. And if you like extra sour cream, I did add a squirt of sour cream in it and cooked it up in there with it, so add a little zip. But if you want to add an extra sour cream drizzle on top, even better. by far, I've made it 3 times now. The first time I ate the whole thing myself, I didn't share it. And then the next day I did it when my husband was going to have a carb day, and he made a bowl, and the bowl was humongous, and he filled the whole thing up. And I was like, all right, I hope you're going to eat it all, because you better not waste it, because I'm going to pour it back into the thing. So it's good. And it only takes 10 minutes. So from your leftovers to it being done, it only took me 10 minutes. Okay.
Nice. I'm really excited about this one.
Oh, so cranberry. What? So I actually don't like cranberry. So I don't like the jelly cranberry. Both my husband and my son love it. But how can, if there's any leftovers, what can I do with it? I've done this one before in the Instant Pot cooking and shortcut cooking recipes. It's 2 cans. And sometimes right now I'm thinking, what am I going to make? How can I have like a little dessert without having to make something that's like a pie, and then the crust is going to get all soggy and whatnot if I don't eat it in a certain amount of time. This you can put in the refrigerator. It's going to last a week. So you just use a can of apple pie filling. You're going to cut up those apple pieces in there so they're kind of bite-sized chunks, and a can of either whole cranberry sauce, or you can use the jellied if you don't like whole cranberry. And you're just going to heat it up on the stovetop and then let it cool. You can either eat it with some graham crackers or vanilla wafers, or you can, if you happen to have pie crust and whatnot left over, and you can make up some pie crust and you can eat it that way. It is so good. It's good warm and it's good cold. So it's just a little easy cranberry dessert.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat.
We're on a cranberry kick.
Yes, our cranberry kick. So like I said, I had a whole lot of cans of cranberries sauce, or the jelly. So I was trying to find other things to do, like sweet instead of always savory. So I made this coffee cake. And so it was basically like making a regular cake, but I used baking mix, which I had never heard of before. I feel like a lot of people probably have. So you either had the biscuit mix or the baking mix. I'm glad I bought the baking mix, because reading the recipe, everybody said the biscuit mix made the cake dry. It could also be that they just left it in there too long, but who knows? My sister said she really liked this one, and that she really doesn't like cranberries, but she did like this one. I think I put the measurements on there, and for me, I like cinnamon. Not by itself, but like on stuff, I like it. So I went a little cinnamon crazy pouring it on there, mixed with like some brown sugar. And then I learned which is why there's not a picture of the final product, because I learned, do not pour your glaze on top of a very hot coffee cake, because it just kind of shrivels up and dies. Mine did. Thank goodness I had so much of it that I did get some glaze on top of it, but it was pretty good. I actually gave it to a friend as well, because we had a little play date with my niece and her daughter. And she said she liked it as well. So yeah.
Now, all of these recipes, we have we've got a Word document that has all of them in there. So as we're talking about them and we're referring to them, there is a Word document that you're going to get all of the recipes. So whatever you guys want to make and everything, and you can tweak it, and we'd love to hear back if you've made them too, and if you liked them. So here's another one that is, oops, I bought too much. And of course, when I started writing some of these things, I was thinking of music. Oops, I bought too much. I always have pumpkin in my pantry, and I pretty much always have some sort of cake mix. And so this is literally 2 ingredients. So it's pumpkin and it's a spice cake, and mix the 2, bake them in the oven, and you have that. Now, my son loves Panera's pumpkin muffins. I cannot make their pumpkin muffins. I can't. I don't know how they do it. They've got some sort of magic in there, but he loves these. So he will request them, and whenever I make them, the kid will sit down and eat all of them. And so I have to kind of like budget it out. Like you only can have so many today, and then you can only have so many tomorrow. Otherwise, you'd fill up the whole on pumpkin muffins.
All you need to do is add the cream cheese in it, and it should be fine.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's all that's missing is a little thing of cream cheese in the middle. I have no idea how they add the pumpkin seeds on the sides though and make them stay, which I pick off. So.
But theirs is really dense, and this is kind of light and fluffy.
Yeah, they're.
I don't know.
Hey, he eats it. That's all that matters.
That's right. And it's only 2 ingredients. All right, let's see. What was next? Okay, so I thought that this would be a really good one to do, especially with small gatherings. So who really wants to make a gigantic apple pie or a gigantic pie, and it's only going to be for you and somebody else, or maybe only like a family of 3, like my household? Pie crust, canned filling of whatever sort, just fill it in there. And I use my air fryer, but you can do it in the oven. They're just little hand pies. And let's just say you did make your apple pie, but of course you couldn't put all your apple pie filling in there. This is I've got a little leftover crust, whatever. And it's super good. I make them kind of every other week for my father-in-law because he loves them, and so I'll make him an abundance of them, and he just puts them in the freezer and takes them out and pops them in the oven for a second to crisp them back up. So super easy, perfect for small gatherings right now. Let's see. Oh, I was on a kick here. Apparently I put all of mine in a row. Sorry. Pumpkin schmumpkin. So you got too much Cool Whip, you got too much pumpkin, and now you've got a dessert dip. So it's super easy. It is just Cool Whip. It is a can of pumpkin or how much ever pumpkin you have. And then if you've got a little extra something else, vanilla pudding mix. Now, if you have half of whatever, just make half of whatever. Like it's just a general idea of what you can do. And you can just kind of sprinkle in, you got a little of this and a little of that, and add some pumpkin pie spice in there, have some graham crackers, and you got a pumpkin pie dip. And I don't like pumpkin pie, so super, super good. It's really easy. Yes.
Yeah.
Pretzels. Yes.
Yes, that is a real favorite with the sweet and the salty. I know you made this last year for a different program, and I ate it, and it was like, I need to go and make this stuff at my house because it really is truly delicious. If you have a really bad sweet tooth, but you're trying to be good, this is a really good thing to make.
And it's easy, and I don't know, sometimes like I said, it'll last in the fridge for a little while too, so you're not feeling like things are getting I have issues with like my pies getting sweaty. They get the dew on the top, and then I don't like them. I don't care. I know that you can put a napkin on top and dry it up, but it's still not the same. So I feel like this is one of those things for me. It kind of it's the pumpkin, but yet it's not just straight up pumpkin.
Yeah, I will say this was one of my favorite things that you made last year. It's really good and really easy. I love 2 ingredients.
Yes, I'm loving that so many of these are within my cooking range of capability. 2 or 3 ingredients, very simple.
Yeah, I will say Missy and I are both on the same page with it needs to be quick, not many ingredients, super simple, but still tastes really good. There's no need to have all these fancy things all the time when you're just trying to get dinner on the table. So yeah.
I think the only recipe that had the most ingredients was my very first turkey/chicken sandwich that had it's got like a bazillion ingredients, but they all work together.
Yeah.
Lori says that she is also a fan of the dip.
Oh, there's my dump cake. So in my family, I have 2 specialty desserts. One is a gooey butter cake, being that I'm from St. Louis, that people love, and that I've made for a program last year. Me and the library director, Susan, And then I make a peach dump cake normally, which my family loves, and both desserts are basically like a heart attack waiting to happen because they're super sweet, but also full of butter too. This one right here is not as sweet as my peach dump cake, but basically I have all the ingredients there. It's just a spice cake, some sugar, pumpkin pie filling, heavy whipping cream, and eggs, and then just heavy on the cinnamon. I did learn with this recipe that being that you have to do the layering of the cake and the pumpkin pie and the evaporated milk, it's really liquidy. And normally with my peach dump cake, they're not as liquidy. So I normally will just layer on with the butter and not melt it. This one, because it's so liquidy, I actually did have to melt the butter, thank goodness, because I was looking at a few of the butter chunks that I cut up, and they just kind of slowly wanted to like sink down into the the filling. I was like, okay, let's take those out and mix this. And but it turned out really well. My friend actually said this was her favorite out of the cake, this one, and so did my sister. And it's because I think there's a really nice crunch at the top of it, which again, because they ate it all, there was no final product picture. Really easy.
That is the best reason I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But it just was so good that it all got eaten.
It disappeared. And then you can add like Cool Whip on top of this, and it's really good. I always have Cool Whip because I love Cool Whip. And just add a little bit on top of that and warm it. I warm it up. My sister doesn't warm things up, so she said either way it's good. It's good. But yeah, she did say that adding the whipped cream on top just gave it a whole nother taste.
All right, what do we got? Okay, and so when we decided that we were going to do this, I kind of went crazy and I had to get on Pinterest and be like, okay, what am I going to make? And so I started this Pinterest board, and on the document that you guys can also get, it's going to have the Pinterest board on there. You can follow it. So if you guys want to go on there and you see what kind of other things that we have that maybe didn't either make the cut or we didn't get a chance to make, because I'm thinking, what other things do we make at Thanksgiving? I couldn't think of a good thing to make with green bean casserole other than green bean casserole.
Yeah.
And I don't like green bean casserole anyway, so I certainly wasn't going to try to make it and then make something from it. No thanks. And Diona obviously didn't either. But
I like green bean casserole, but yeah, I just couldn't think of anything else to do with it, because I'm just going to leave that alone.
But there is, I don't know if anybody eats mac and cheese. Obviously mac and cheese is eaten in this household a lot because I've got a 9-year-old and that's what he loves. So when we have leftovers, I didn't put it in there, but we like freeze it and then we'll put a coating on it, and then we can I pop them in the air fryer, and then we've got like little like macaroni and cheese bites. So they've got like a little coating on the outside, and then when they bust into it, you got the macaroni and cheese. So it's really good. It's an easy way to make things, but take it up another notch. So
yeah, I don't know if it's in there, but I know I put it on our board too, that I made little sausage stuffing balls that were really good with like just ground. I did hot Italian sausage, stuffing, cheese, and egg, and then just popped them in the oven. That was so good, like the perfect snack almost. And bacon, because everything's better with bacon.
It's on the board too.
Okay.
That recipe is on the board, on the Pinterest board. Yeah. So there's a lot of things on there. And if you're on Pinterest, I do recommend just follow it, and you can see if Diona and I get a little happy and we start adding extra things to it, because I will add all kinds of stuff. So you'll always have something new that's going on there. And I don't know, should we open it up for some questions? Yeah,
I'm gonna stop sharing the PowerPoint so that you guys can ask whatever questions you need to about this, because I know I have some questions as well. If you're not that much of a super cook and you want to do something just very small to jazz up the leftovers, what would you recommend?
You can turn anything into a sandwich. I will say you can turn almost anything into a sandwich, and most people always have bread. Like with my sandwich, because sometimes I go crazy and I want like that fresh scratch bread, I'm like, ooh, let's use that. I think most people always have cheese, so sandwiches are always good. Pastas are always good because they're super simple. Yeah, Regina, muffins are good too. Yeah.
The leftover, the one that I made that you can use either chicken or turkey, and then it's got bacon and spinach. It doesn't taste like you're having Thanksgiving.
Right.
So, I mean, that's one thing for me. Like, I don't want, like, when I put in there, it's like, you've got all this leftover stuff. You don't want to feel like you're eating Thanksgiving meal number 26. You want, although everybody loves Thanksgiving meals, you like it for, the first 2 days. And then you're like, okay, now I got to eat this turkey, or I've got to freeze it or do whatever. Putting it into like a sandwich and really changing like the flavors by adding in, like, Diona added it in brie, and that has a distinct flavor. And I put in and I have goat cheese, and it adds like that tang, and then you add pesto to it. So there's all kinds of things. Oh yes, green bean casserole could be used in the pot pie.
That is so true, Judy. Yes, because you use the cream of mushroom soup and the green beans. Oh, Missy.
Not doing it. Don't like the mushroom. Still don't.
I would do that, but I would have to nix the little. I always forget the name of those things. What are they called?
French's fried onions.
Yes, those.
Though admittedly, we just usually called them crunchies at our house.
I think
I would just
those
eat those.
things.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any other suggestions or questions or things that they eat a lot at Thanksgiving and are wondering what to do with it?
Or any non-traditional Thanksgivings? Because I'll say my dad hates Thanksgiving food. We go to to my stepmom's family's house, and we'll eat traditional Thanksgiving there the day before, and then the next day he's got some theme. One year it was brunch. I think last year we had Mexican food. One year it was seafood. It just, no turkey at my dad's house. That's all I can say.
Nope. The
Hey,
past few years
Brandon.
we've had Subway, so we get Subway sandwiches. So I totally understand.
Hey, break out and eat what you like. We have been debating on going non-traditional in our house too. Compliment. This was wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I can't wait to make some of these dishes. I think I'm with Sarah on that. I did not know there were quite so many uses for cranberry jelly. That really surprised me because I've always thought, well, you just plop it out of the tin and eat it. But we never had enough left to make any of these fancy things. So, it's kind of a moment. What about sweet potato casserole if you have that left over? Because I know we tend to make sweet potato casserole with our Thanksgiving.
I have it on the Pinterest board, but my mom, like, with mashed potatoes, and like, because my sweet potato casserole it's more like it's like mashed sweet potatoes. I add some flour and some egg to it, and then I make like the sweet potato pancakes in the morning. And so and then you can easily put, like, of course, what does it need more of? Sugar, right? So I just drizzle a little honey on it. I know, whatever. But that's something that my child would eat because it's sweet. But it's really good. I've made like a lot of like potato pancakes, and you can do it with the sweet potato casserole too. and it's so good. It just adds like that little caramelization on the top and the bottom, and then you can eat that. I happen to love that. I haven't tried to figure out how to put it in. I was trying to figure out how to put it into like a muffin, but because of all like the butter and everything else, it can skew certain things. But
yeah, while Missy and I were talking about this program, I was telling her my sweet potatoes in my family, it's not really a casserole. I tend to, because I'm the one who cooks Thanksgiving dinner for my family. And when I say family, I mean there's like 20 of us normally or more, but not this year. But typically I just cut up my sweet potatoes and then line them in like a pan. And then that's where you start pouring on butter and sugar and brown sugar. So I think I could, if I wanted to, I could probably turn them into pancakes or put them in a pie. But we typically don't because they're always gone. Like I need to start making a bigger pan the next time we actually do have a family gathering, so that people can have leftovers.
oh, yum.
So there's been a couple of comments in the incoming, and I know that we've been responding to them in the chat, but so
I think we could make stuffing fritters, Regina.
yes.
I think so. You could just, instead of making muffins, you could probably use the exact same recipes that we had and just smash them out and either stick them in the air fryer, or I don't have a fryer. I have an air fryer, or put them in the oven and they'd be pretty good.
I think there's one on the board too. It's that they flattened them out into kind of like pancakes, and you can put an egg on top of them too for breakfast.
Oh, yum.
Yeah.
I have tried doing that with mashed potatoes, but I think this year they will become soup instead of attempted pancakes.
Yeah.
So how do you guys use leftover sweet pie, like pecan or pumpkin or, apple or whatnot?
I don't eat pecan pie. I won't touch it. I don't like nuts, so I have nothing for you.
That's fair. Lori wants to know, what kind of air fryer do you use?
Ooh, hold on. Let me go look.
And Tracy says, we eat the pie for breakfast. I like the way you think, Tracy. That is a good usage of pie.
That's good. So my air fryer is also a toaster oven that was on sale at Target, but I know Missy has a few sizes of everything.
I have one. It's a Go Wise USA. It's the biggest one that they have. So I have that one. It's the basket attachment. It's not the oven one where you have like the little pull down. It's the basket attachment. So I use it quite often. It's always on my countertop. No, I can't even show you. I don't know where it is.
We've been looking for the toaster one. Mark and I have been thinking about getting an air fryer, but we wanted the Breville air fryer and toaster oven combination. So we've been looking at that, but trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, so I have the toaster oven one. I will say I've made hot wings in it, and it went really well. And but of course, my sister Erica was like, "Why are you trying out things that I want to eat in something new?" But it went pretty well. I will say it's not as big as some people like, but like Lori, for you and Mark, it would probably be a nice size. I'll have to look and see the brand of it because my mom actually gave it to me for my birthday.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Jill has put in a recipe.
Sorry, guys, I just joined like half of the meeting.
Thanksgiving egg rolls. Egg rolls. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can share this recipe real quick so that you guys can see it up on here.
I did see some, and I think I posted them to our Pinterest board, like some with putting all your Thanksgiving leftovers in a crescent roll. So that was like turkey, stuffing. You could put your green bean casserole in there and roll it all up. And I I want to try it out, but at the same time, I was kind of like, okay, I don't feel like making a mess in this small kitchen right now. I'll try it out another day. But it looked yummy.
And there's another one that was Thanksgiving lasagna, and it's like layering it, like so you use all your leftovers into like a lasagna, and you just keep layering everything with the cranberry and the potatoes and everything. And so you just do that and you bake it up. And so when you eat it, but I don't know, I don't look at it as a lasagna. I kind of looked at it as a casserole. It looked good.
That one, I have one that was a pizza as well. It's almost like you can probably turn all your Thanksgiving leftovers and just plop them down on some pie crust or some noodles or something or bread, and then just say, here's this. Instead, like, I think they're like upgraded mom's goulashes, or because my mom used to make goulashes, but it's not what most people would think, and we didn't want to eat it because there was no clue what she had stuck in there.
My mom's goulash growing up was not the same, but my grandma used to make goulash, and she'd make it after she had made chili because there was still leftover chili. So then she would throw whatever leftover chili was in with the goulash, and then she would add more to it. So my mom grew up never knowing that goulash didn't have like kidney beans in it. So then later she found out like you don't have to have that stuff in there. So yeah, like it was like we've had our shares of like, oh, let's not try that recipe again. So
yeah, I gotta say we've had some leftover evenings at our house too, and Will, my significant other's gotten really good at transforming things, and half the time I think that it just ends up being some kind of soup or jambalaya, or it gets served over rice the next day. Like, that's a big one in our house. Tracy's saying about the Thanksgiving lasagna that she saw that one and it looked real good. I also agree with Missy on that one. To me, it looked a little bit more like a casserole than it did a full lasagna. Now, granted, I have a very specific kind of mental image of lasagna, though. So it just depends on how creative you want to get with what you're looking at. I think the idea that we can, have our cake and eat it too, so to speak, and eat it again is always a real bonus.
Yeah, I think Deanna, my take was to do these recipes was not to make our recipes feel like we're still having Thanksgiving, a Thanksgiving dinner. It's how to make some of those things that you have, like specifically, I mean, you might have turkey left over, but you don't have anything else left over. But you might have, or a loved one gave you a ton and a half. Well, we need to get rid of this too. And then of course you're like, okay, well, I'll take that. I've got a lot of that where it's like they hand it off to you and you're just like, thanks. Because we don't need that much, but there's only 3 of us. But so you have like a ton of something, so you got to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, and it's also a nice way just to clear out your pantry or your fridge or your freezer. I try to, when it's time to go grocery shopping, I'm like, wait, we have all this stuff. We're not going grocery shopping until we eat this. What can we make? That helps.
So one of the nice things that you can actually do is there's a couple of different websites out there, and all you would have to do is just Google what's in my pantry. That you can check what's in your pantry, and it will give you recipes that you can make just with what's in your pantry, which we found really helpful because sometimes you just have 8 cans of black beans, and the question of how do you make 8 cans of black beans into something? Well, the answer sometimes is brownie.
Yeah.
So
I'll show you one of my best friends in my kitchen, and it is this book, and it is Substituting Ingredients. It's one of my best friends in the kitchen because inevitably I'll have a bunch of everything, but like I won't have sour cream or whatever, but I have the other stuff, and there's like substitutes on how to fake it, how to fake make sour cream, how to fake make certain other things, heavy whipping cream. and I'll be like, oh, I have all that. So all I have to do is add like a tablespoon of vinegar to something, and it acts the same way in the cooking. So this has been like, it's a gift my mom gave me like many years ago. And every time I'm like, oh, I don't have something, I'm always like just going to it. It's called substituting ingredients A to Z in the kitchen. So it's so good, and it helps me out quite often with like, if you have a leftover of something, what can I make from that? So
I'm going to need that book, and I'm also have to see if we have it in the library. Yes, definitely going to need that.
I agree with that because part of my household is dairy free. So looking at doing the substitutions for that can sometimes get a little interesting when people try to substitute everything along with substituting the dairy.
yeah.
So you go on some substitution adventures. Glenn is saying, I need that book too. I think we're all looking at it going, this is what I would like as
for Christmas.
Yeah, as the holiday present, as, you know, a Thanksgiving morning surprise. One of our customs that we do is on Thanksgiving, we do not eat lunch. We eat breakfast and we eat dinner. So one of the things that sometimes happens is we'll have bread pudding for breakfast, and it'll also be dessert because my mom had 57 stale buns to go around from their bread basket. So what do you do with that? You make bread pudding.
Mm-hmm.
Which at some point I will need to post that recipe as well. That way, in case you have stale bread left, you got something to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys do that with breakfast and dinner foods and kind of do that sort of double use or transformation?
So, I mean, sometimes with some things, I always grew up like with my mom would make big meals, and she would have like lots of carrots or lots of potatoes or lots of whatever. And in the morning, it never failed. She'd make breakfast, but then there was carrots at breakfast, and she would she'd cut them up into like small, tiny little bite-sized chunks, and then she would caramelize them so that they were kind of sweet. So I'd have carrots with my eggs. I don't ask, but it was so good. Like, I don't know. I still, like, to this day, I still like when my mom would make those up, I would be like, oh, we've got leftover carrots. I'd chop them up, put a little butter in the pan and fry them up. And like, because they were cold and because they all settled and everything kind of went back to the way it was supposed to be, that it would just get like a nice crust on the outside, and they just taste good. And I don't know, carrots for breakfast.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, my mom really didn't cook. I think the only leftovers we would have for breakfast and for dinner was rice, because she would make like rice and eggs. And then for dinner, if she boiled chicken, which I will never eat boiled chicken ever again in my life, we would have boiled chicken and white rice again. And of course, it had to be sweet rice, as people in the South call it, but rice with butter and sugar. Yeah,
we ate that a lot too. We had ours with milk and cinnamon, which is actually really tasty if you have a whole lot of leftover rice this Thanksgiving. Milk and cinnamon and sugar, and you just heat it so it's
almost
not
like a rice pudding.
Almost, but you don't get that gel flavor in your mouth. It doesn't
that's good.
Jiggly gel. It just stays kind of nice, and the milk mostly just kind of rehydrates your rice a little bit and makes it live a second go round. So, you know, not super fancy. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in this morning and for talking with us and for teaching us so much about cooking and, you know, how we can make one meal become 3 meals or possibly 5 meals, depending on how much your relatives give you. It was really fun, and I know I learned a lot, and I hope everyone else did too. And Regina saying this was delicious. I mean, great. Thank you both. So it is very true, that saying that we eat with our eyes first to a certain extent, I'm guessing. So if anyone else was made hungry by this presentation, I am right there with you, and I am appreciating you because I now want to eat all of these things. And I know you guys have gotten the chance over the past month prepping for this to eat all of these things. Sarah's saying, gotta go get a delicious lunch now. I'm starving. So we're getting our pre-holiday, pre-Thanksgiving prep on for our big feast. So we really appreciate you guys coming out today. Thank you so much. And if anybody else has other questions or comments, go on ahead and put them in the chat. At this point, I'm just going to say that Dee says she learned new ways to cook leftovers. Thank you. Segue. Lori is saying great ideas for leftovers and love to hear what everyone's mom shared with you. So, you know, cooking does make the heart grow fonder. Yes, Glenna, we did record this. So if you came in late or you happen to miss something and you're wondering, okay, where is this? We are going to have the recording on our YouTube, and the recipes are going to be emailed out to everybody who came today, as well as the PowerPoint, so you can see what, you know, things look like kind of before and after and in the middle, so to speak. And we're going to put the recipes and the PowerPoint up on the Life page. They should be available later today, and you should get an email from me with this information as well. Thank you guys so much for coming and for being with us and for teaching us a little slice of life today that we can actually eat and enjoy, which is nice. Next week is Thanksgiving, so we are not going to have Life next week, but the week after that, December 1st, we're going to be kicking off December with Sarah Zapata from the TLC, who's going to be teaching us the 5 languages of appreciation, because it's never too late to learn about gratitude, and it's never too early to learn about how to appreciate other people in a style that they understand. Alrighty, guys, we will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.